everybody. Welcome, of course, to another edition of the Carton Show. Great to have you here as we're shoving ourselves out a little snowstorm over the last 24 hours. That guy right there is David Jacoby. Very nice. Someone's got to clap. This guy right here, who I just found out changed his hairstyle on us this morning. Mr. Willie Colon, Super Bowl champion.
I'm pretty sure I was here Monday.
I just noticed it today. Your face shines. Beautiful, beautiful man.
Look great. You
know, today is a very special day for me and for my dear friend and brother-in-arms, Mr. Willie Colon, because while we're getting ready for the big parade, obviously, in Kansas City, I think not undisputed.
First things first. Yes.
I apologize. It's going to be out there live from the parade today, so if you're looking for that kind of coverage, you get it live right here on FS1 with Nick and the gang, so that's all good. But that's not why today's a special day. Today is a very special day for me, and as I said, my brother here, Mr. Willie Colon, because today in Tampa, Florida, there's a major occurrence happening in the sports world that makes us, if I may speak for you,
please.
Moist.
Yes.
Pitchers and catchers wearing pinstripes.
Baseball's back.
That's right. Baseball's back. The New York Yankees arrive at spring training. A little PNC, a little pitchers and catchers. The Dodgers did yesterday, I guess, or the day before. But the New York Yankees, the only franchise that really matters in baseball, they arrive today. It starts today.
I know. Pitchers and catchers for Valentine's Day. Can't beat it.
Plus, it's also a great day today, not because it's Valentine's Day, but because the New York Jets already dominating the offseason again.
Let's go, Jets.
As you know, franchise goes out and announces an announcement about jerseys that we're not going to see until September. I mean, you just got to love it. Dominating like we did last year, the offseason.
Big day.
But it's also a tough day for us here at FS1 for two reasons. One, there's a highlight I have to show you that I've never seen before in the history of organized sports. And it's one of those things that your mom and dad usually talk to you about. And they're like, son, listen, if the clouds get a little dark and you hear claps of thunder, you know, maybe you shouldn't stand on an open field because you don't know what's coming with the thunder. Usually it's lightning. Well, a couple days ago, professional soccer game, there was thunder. With that thunder came lightning. All right, not that big a deal. Except the lightning hit a player.
Oh!
No joke. That is undoctored, unedited video. I'll show it to you one more time. Let me set it up. Random defensive dude in a soccer game, minding his own business, and watch what happens. Gets hit by a bolt of lightning during a soccer game. And I've never seen that before in my life.
No.
And I figured if we're not going to bring that to you, what show on TV is going to show you that, right?
That's a great visual to wake up to.
There you go. That's what I thought. Good way to start the day. Showing you something that, it's kind of like the boogeyman. It's like, you know, back when I grew up, you're not allowed to swim within 20 minutes of eating.
Correct.
You guys remember that thing?
Thought it was 30.
Yeah, that was
real?
Right,
I'm pretty sure.
It's not real.
I ate a lot and jumped right in the pool. I even ate in the pool. So I don't see.
But that was supposed to be a big thing. So playing outside in a rainstorm, you're not supposed to do that. And I also found out today, and I don't have anything to back it up here, but I will later in the show, a bit of mourning here today because the founder and the creator of Pop-Tarts also passed away yesterday.
Oh, man.
96-year-old guy named Bill Post. He was given 4 months to invent a new snack for the Keebler Company, and this man invented Pop-Tarts, and he was 96 years old, and he passed. So later on in the show, we will honor him by seeing how many Pop-Tarts Willie can fit in his mouth at exactly one time.
Sounds good.
But we are not done talking football. I can tell you that, because remember yesterday on the show, we were trying to figure out if the lineman McKivitz was at fault for the Chris Jones getting right in
back and forth
on a Brock Purdy. Well, now the Niners offensive linemen are pointing fingers, and we know who the culprit is that cost them a Super Bowl title. Plus, the latest on Kyle Shanahan and this nonsense about him being criticized over the overtime rules. We got lots to do. Tons of NFL, tons of NBA as well. Right after this, don't go anywhere. All right, so the beauty of a close Super Bowl when the little one play here, one play there determines the outcome. You get to nitpick it for like it's a dead carcass of a yak in the Serengeti. The hyenas have left a couple pieces of meat on the bone. And that's what we're going to do with San Francisco in that third down play. We can show you the play a million times. It's a third down play before they kick the field goal in overtime. Chris Jones comes in, pressures Brock Purdy. He doesn't have time to hit Juwan Jennings on the right side. Never even sees Debo wide open when another defensive back falls down. So here's the play one more time.
Yep.
Because you got to see it. This good angle of it. You're going to look on the left side of the screen, which is the right side of San Francisco's offensive line there. You can let it play right there. It's all good. Chris Jones, of course, jumps the gap. Nobody blocks him. And we know the rest of the story. And we're all saying to ourselves, what the hell's the right guard doing right there?
Yeah.
He didn't guard anybody, right? Well, John Feliciano, who's a well-known offensive lineman for San Francisco, came out in a bit of a drunken stupor. He admits that. He was drinking a little of the sauce after the game. And he says, look, it was not McKibitz's guy. It was Spencer Burford's guy. Yeah. So if you want to blame somebody, let's blame the right guy. Spencer Burford messed up on who he's supposed to block in that play. So before we get to the apology, which you know is coming, you're an offensive lineman. We can show you that film again.
Yep.
Is Feliciano right?
He is right, but I can understand what. First of all, Spencer's 23 years old. He's playing. First of all, he didn't expect to play in this game because Feliciano got hurt, so his mind is scrambled. But in this, and schematically, what he's looking at right now, the Chiefs are playing man-to-man. This is a double A blitz. There's supposed to be two backers blitzing right there, right?
Yeah.
One peels off because he has McCaffrey, which is running a jet fake power sweep right on the front side. The left side is coming down. The right side, where Spencer's at. Two things he's looking at. He's looking at Chris Jones and he's looking at the blitz. He pretty much freaks out because he realizes the center's pulling, which he did, and there's a big gap right here, right?
Yep.
So, but there's an offensive line room. You never pass one to get to another one.
Got it.
Somebody has to
and
be
you do have the left defensive end coming in from the side, so he picked his poison, but he picked the wrong guy to block.
100%. And if you are going to come down like that, you have to tell your right tackle to at least take my guy. That didn't happen.
Apparently there was no communication on the offensive line, but here's the deal. Feliciano then said, you know, my bad. I probably shouldn't be spouting off and blaming teammates, especially while I'm hungover or slow to the influence of alcohol.
It was his birthday.
Right. Now, look, that for me, the writing's way too small.
I woke up hungover.
Yeah, if you want to go full screen on that,
bro.
feel free.
I woke up hungover and being a bleep. In trying to have the ones back, I hurt you. It's bleep up, and I apologize.
Yeah.
You got nothing but greatness ahead of you. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, well, Burford first says, I open up my app, and this is the first thing I got to see, that I'm being blamed now for the Super Bowl 58 loss, and not by some jackass on TV or a guy that's working the radio out in San Francisco, by my own teammate,
who,
by the way, wasn't even playing.
He wasn't even playing. On top of that, McKivitz was like, he didn't throw anybody. He could have even said, hey, go back to the film. I'm not the guy, but he didn't. So one thing about an offensive line room, we try to jump on grenades for each other, so this is kind of against our code of conduct.
Well, but to be fair, Feliciano did come back around at least and say, my bad, I shouldn't have said it. I was out of my head, obviously drunk after losing the Super Bowl. But it does show you, and it kind of leans in to the whole Kyle Shanahan not talking to the players about the new overtime rules, which I think is, it's an invented story that for some reasons got legs, and I hate it because it had no impact whatsoever on how they played in the overtime and scoring a field goal, and on defense not being able to stop Kansas City from going right down the field and scoring the touchdown. But here's Kyle Shanahan being asked yesterday about whether or not he told the guys about the new rules. Listen to this.
We asked the position coach to do that, but no, I didn't cover it in a meeting on the Super Bowl week. I don't think that changes anything. We did it with our analytics department. We decided that going into the playoffs. I think you guys know how I've explained how I make decisions with that stuff in the past. I take all the information I can get, especially ones I haven't been in, and our analytics felt that was the best way to go.
So here's the deal. All of his coaches knew. He told his coaches, let the players know about it. This is not a Super Bowl only rule. This is a postseason rule. But because there are no overtime games, obviously in the postseason leading up to the Super Bowl, this was the first game that we've ever witnessed in NFL history with the new rules. And what else do you want the guy to say? It had no impact on how they played in overtime.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you talk about the Chiefs. They talk about how they were prepared, right? And what's frustrating about this overall, is that one, I think if you understand what he was trying to say in his logic, he watched his defense go through an 11-play drive to end the fourth quarter.
Right.
He knew they were gassed, right? So, our best option right now to win this game is put our offense out there because they're ready to go. On top of that, he understands Patrick Mahomes is going to score, right? So he's going to listen. If we put up 7, they put up 7, but he didn't anticipate, even with the scoring 6, they were possibly going to go for 2, which they
probably would have converted because that's what Patrick Mahomes does. But, it's funny. It's again, we can't help ourselves, right? We have to find somebody to blame. And even though it's nonsensical, we're now going to create this into a much bigger issue than it is. And now we're going to say Kyle Shanahan, who, to be fair, factually, can't win the Super Bowl, didn't do it in Atlanta, hasn't done it in the 2 tries. He's been in the Super Bowl both times against Kansas City. Now let's break him down.
Yeah.
Let's take away the fact that he's a great head coach who's built a mini dynasty there without the titles, obviously, from a standpoint of dominating the NFC. And now let's discuss the fact that he's a lousy communicator. Shut up.
So I thought Kyle Shanahan coached a good game. I thought Brock Purdy played a good game. I thought the defense was great. I thought the 49ers were fine. They ran into Patrick Mahomes. My question for you, Craig, to advance this conversation, which is more interesting, I feel like, is let's say next year they're back in the Super Bowl and it goes to overtime.
Yeah.
Do you think he makes that same decision under the same circumstances?
I think it's a game decision. I think it depends on who you're playing against. I think it depends on the situation that got you there. I think it depends on the read you have of your team. And what no one wants to talk about is what Willie just said. Their defense was getting shredded.
Yeah.
So why would I put my defense back on the field?
He went on to say it was a field goal game. Because while their defense was getting shredded, they held them to field goals a couple times. Because the only scenario in which he gets the ball back, in my opinion, is if they trade field goals. So maybe that was something that goes into his thinking in that.
Well, I mean, just because Kansas City wants to say after the game that our plan was to go for 2 does not mean that they were going to go for 2. Now, maybe they would have. Maybe when you got a couple Super Bowl trophies in your back pocket, you can do that because it doesn't affect your legacy at all because you've already proven you can win. And if you go for it and you don't convert, well, what a great run you had anyway. It's the great Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid got aggressive, and he wouldn't be criticized the way Dan Campbell is. But, I mean, can we stop?
Dude,
can we just acknowledge the fact that
there's a good button for this conversation. It's a quote from Kyle Juszczyk. No one knows how to say his last name confidently. I can't say it confidently. Juszczyk. This is right up your alley, Craig. That changes nothing for me as a player.
Thank you.
If I know the rule or don't know the rule, I'm trying to do the exact same thing on the field. It's just people looking for a way to bleep on shit.
Yeah, but
that's exactly what I said word for word yesterday. No offense.
You're not wrong.
Knuckleheads don't need to know the overtime rules. I said that exact same thing word for word. And I got beaten up for it. And no one's going to beat him up for it because he's a player. Maybe I should have been a player.
Maybe. You were right. You were right.
I know I was right.
And on top of that, the problem is Shanahan in this Niner outfit is 0-3 in Super Bowls, right? So how do you explain that? The fact that they're going home, they went home, now they're currently home.
Yes.
Losers.
Well, he lost one in Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just throw that one out there because that's not solely on Shanahan and no reason to relive, the 28-3 debacle with Matt Ryan and Arthur and Smith and all that nonsense, right? He lost 2 Super Bowls as the head coach of San Francisco to the best quarterback of a generation. All right, it happened.
But my point is, you're talking.
No, sir.
What happened?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Your point should be what Jablowski had to say, which was, it doesn't matter if we know the intricacies of the overtime rules, because when I'm on the field and my job is to block, number 55. I'm going to block number 55 regardless of what the rules are.
But I'm talking about what the people are going to say, because at all 3 of those Super Bowls he lost, he was up by double digits.
That's correct.
Bottom line.
Here's the deal.
They're going to come through and
I'm going to quote, if I may, on the show, because we're a bit of a highbrow show from time to time.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
And I had my breakfast this morning.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
That's right.
What did you have?
Did you change your hairstyle?
Oh, here we go.
You did?
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Here's the deal. I quote the great Eleanor Roosevelt. in times like this. Teddy's wife, as you know.
Right.
And Eleanor Roosevelt famously
Teddy.
once said, other people's opinion of me is none of my business. And that's a great way to live life.
Yep.
So bring all your hatred, bring all your criticism, try to break Kyle Shanahan down. It doesn't mean a damn thing, and I hope he doesn't hear it because it means nothing. College is right. It doesn't matter if we know the rules or not. You're just trying to poop on my head coach, and he's right, and I won't stand for it.
But it comes with you losing your third Super Bowl.
Well, that did happen too.
So whatever
that did happen. He's one away from Marv Levy.
Oh, look at that.
Hall of Fame head coach, by the
we
way.
keep talking about, Mahomes and Brady. Maybe we should talk about Levy.
Marv Levy, by the way, is still alive. Still
Is
alive.
he?
Yeah, he's like
I didn't think he was
117,
dead,
but
though.
he's still doing well. All right, by the way, I was born to be an athlete, as you know. And since you guys now acknowledge that I have the same mindset as the guy that just played in the Super Bowl, I'm thinking of maybe trying to crank the old bad boy back up.
And do what?
And while I'm clearly not an NFL quarterback, I never would claim to be, there is the possibility that the UFL might have a place for a guy who still has some eligibility left.
Yeah.
Well,
Which I do.
Don't go
I have a
straight
year
to
left.
the NFL. Work your way into the NFL.
That's right.
The UFL.
100% right. That's how I view it. Anyway, we got much more coming your way. It's, Kansas City preparing for a big parade. Today we got first in football, and we've got some interesting things happening in Kansas City as they decide whether or not to bring Chris Jones back after this. The founder, the creator of Pop-Tarts passed away yesterday. The beauty of the Pop-Tart for me is this. It's the imperfection of it. If you guys can get a close-up of that, see how the icing is not spread out evenly at all?
At all.
It was kind of like it's like a big surprise. Like you open up your Pop-Tart, you have no idea what the frosted coverage is going to be.
Yeah.
And that was the beauty of the Pop-Tart. In any event, long live Bill Post. He's the guy that created. By the way, so everyone in Kansas City right now getting ready for their second parade in as many years. And while outside of Thanksgiving, I happen to hate parades, they're going to have a great day out there. Everyone's going to be drinking and no school. And it's going to be a great day, no doubt, in Kansas City. But I learned something about you people in Kansas City. You freaky bastards in Kansas City. So right after Kansas City won their third Super Bowl in the Mahomes-Reed era, the majority of Kansas City Chiefs fans did what? Did they, A, go to bed so they could wake up early the next morning and talk about the game with their buddies?
Watch Carton Show.
Did they, B, you walk off a drunken stupor, or did they, C, all go to Pornhub to get busy? Yeah, you know the answer.
Yeah.
So the folks that own and run Pornhub released their numbers. And in overtime, traffic was way down. But specifically in Kansas City, after Kansas City won the Super Bowl, apparently Chiefs fans bombarded the website with record numbers. Now, I'm trying to figure out why winning the Super Bowl made you want to,
Well,
it's exciting. You're enjoying yourself.
In my search engine, I do have briskets and booty. So it's a headline, Craig.
Briskets and booty. If you have sports bar in Kansas City.
Right, briskets and booty.
Yeah, briskets and booty. That's what you've got. But like I'm trying to I've never won a championship for the teams I root for, so I have no idea what it's like. But I'm saying to myself, if my team, the New York Jets, which has never happened in my lifetime, if the New York Jets won a Super Bowl, moments after they win their first ever Super Bowl, I got to be honest, my mind is not, I got to see that horny stepsister video again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not thinking that
Maybe
way.
it's just like, I'm really enjoying this. What could possibly make this moment better?
Yeah, and I got to, without being dirty, I don't think I would need Pornhub to be excited.
No.
After my team won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, anytime you pass on the lotion just to grab champagne, it's rough, man. Like, it's just tough. So.
I'm going to let that one go, Willie Cologne. But yeah, I've learned a lot about you Kansas City Chiefs fans, bunch of freaks out there in Missouri. All right, from that, let's go to David Jacoby, hands are dry. Good. Here's first to football.
We
Fantastic.
start with head coach of the Chiefs, Andy Reid, and now that the champagne is dried up, it's time to talk about next season.
Pardon me just one sec, Jacoby, if I may. If you had to guess what the top porn headline videos that they're watching would be, anything come immediately to mind?
Ebony.
Put it out. Two things come to mind: briskets and booty.
I honestly thought fourth and long was.
I mean, everybody has their type. You know, what are you gonna do?
I'm sorry. That's the way it works sometimes. Here.
Back to football. Head coach of the Chiefs, Andy Reid. The champagne is just getting dry around the locker room.
Or if you're me, it'd be third and short.
Who to retain on the team. And he was asked about Chris Jones and his future with the Chiefs. And here's what Andy Reid had to say about the two sides.
Yeah, listen, I think, Veach has said it before. We'd love to have him back. And, they've just got to work all that out. So, but I think the effort will be there probably on both parts to try to get something done.
So remember, we went through this last offseason with Chris Jones and the Chiefs. Do you think a deal gets done before week 1 between these two?
No, I don't think Chris Jones is a Kansas City Chief next year. I think he's going to get a huge payday somewhere else. Yep. And I think what Willie said yesterday, Plax, who will join us at 8 o'clock again today, kind of intimated, look, you've got the hardware. You've got the Super Bowl rings. And if we acknowledge that's what you're fighting for, once you get it, now it's a lot easier to make a purely financial decision. And while Kansas City's in a position, if they want to, of giving him a significant contract for significant money, and there's no arguing that he helped win a Super Bowl, played an instrumental role, obviously, late, and then winning a Super Bowl, you got to believe of the 31 other teams out there, someone's going to say, man, if we could just add Chris Jones to our defense, now we're locked in and we're good to go. And I do believe there are teams out there that'll say that. Now, Kansas City's always got the shot to get the deal done. But to answer your very specific question, I do not think Chris Jones, and this is not based on anything, just human nature, I don't think Chris Jones gets his biggest offer from Kansas City. I just don't.
I agree with you. And I think if I'm Chris Jones, I start wrapping my head around the fact that I may be playing in another uniform next year, solely because
don't forget, he was willing to not play this year over money, right?
Right. But
and ultimately they worked it out, and when he got the last sack, he got the $1 million bonus, so he kind of was even Steven on what he gave up in fines while he was sitting out. But obviously Kansas City played hardball with him last year.
And correct, but prior to that, he only had one All-Pro underneath his belt. Right now he has 2, and he's a Super Bowl champion. So if you're Chris Jones, understand that, like I said, you're going to be in another uniform next year. The money's going to be waiting for you. If I'm the Chicago Bears, go get him, because your defense changes immediately. I know you got Sweat. Now you talk about him on the front line next to you. It can be a difference maker.
Dude, when I look at the situation, I say to myself, well, they just won a Super Bowl. How do you not retain one of your star players? And I think, wait a second. They were in that exact same scenario with the exact same player a year ago, and it was contentious and it ended up bleeding into the regular season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was in another uniform.
Yeah, and look, don't forget the video of him sitting in that luxury suite in Detroit watching that game and not being with the guys and that whole stuff. So, look, it's the exact same scenario as a year ago. Now the player's a year older. Now he's got another Super Bowl ring, and now it comes down to hard, cold cash. And by the way, no one's going to blame him. You go out there, you tell your agent, I want to get an offer from every team in the league, and then I'll make a conscious decision of, what's the right number to go play for a team that doesn't give me the same opportunity to win a championship as Kansas City gave me. And I do agree with Plax from yesterday. There's probably a wiggle room there where I'll take a little less than another team might be offering me if that team is Carolina to stay in Kansas City and win. But if I can go to a good team and make an absurd amount of money more than what Kansas City is willing to guarantee me, then I think you saw the last game for Chris Jones. Yeah, I was working on other titles, though, while you guys were talking over there.
Good.
I have Third and Inches.
Gotcha.
I have Get Through the Hole.
Right.
It's like the McCaffrey story. I'm working on. And I'm going to keep working on those.
Okay.
Good. So just keep working on it.
I'm going to keep doing that.
Moving on to second and football.
How about this one? This is only if the Eagles win a Super Bowl. the tush push.
Oh, I can see.
That's like a fetish.
That seems more fitting at all. The two you offer.
Brotherly shove also.
Continue there if you want.
Moving on to second-hand football. The Niners receiver Brandon Ayuk is in the final year of his 5-year rookie contract. He was extended, and he had a very interesting back and forth with a reporter who was asking him about his status on the 49ers. Really interesting stuff here. Take a look.
Is your hope to remain with the 49ers moving forward?
If that's the right move, yeah.
What would that right move look like for you?
Being a champion.
What? That was interesting. I mean, you don't have to fully commit to being on the Niners, but usually a player will sort of toe the company line a little bit and give more vague answers. Craig, do you think that is it important that the Niners retain Ayuk?
Yeah, I think it is important that they retain him, and let's not forget this. You know, the fifth-year option was picked up.
Yeah.
So Brandon Ayuk is going to make, I think it's $14 million next year, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. And, of course, they have the right to franchise him, into year 6 if they choose to. So, look, you're talking to a guy who's frustrated because he had a chance to win the Super Bowl and he lost. And if I'm those guys, I don't do any interviews until I've calmed down a little bit and gotten the immediate emotion of losing another Super Bowl out of my system. Because you're pissed off.
Yeah.
And this is when I think sometimes the teams don't do players a solid and they make them available. Obviously, we want to hear from everybody. So selfishly, I'm glad there's a microphone in Brandon Ayuk's face and Feliciano's face and Shaq and all that stuff, right? Because we feed off that. But that is the worst time to ask a guy, hey, do you want to come back to San Francisco?
Yeah,
right?
But also at the end of the day, I think he also got emotional when he talked about what it meant to be a 49er. He goes, I came to work and play with guys who wanted to be a champion every day. So I think there's a lot of heartstrings attached to this situation. However, he then went out and tweeted, hey, don't forget what got you here, right? Meaning him. You talk about the big catch he had against Detroit in the NFC Championship game. Man, he pops all over the highlight reel for the San Francisco 49ers. But it comes down to him understanding, like, he's at a point where he has to stand up for himself, too, right? Like, he has to get the bag. You talked about them picking up his 5th-year option.
Yep.
He may have to sit out this year.
No, you don't sit out. You got $14 million coming your way. I don't know, nobody wants to play in a one-year deal, especially when you're in your late 20s.
Right,
and
25 years old.
You don't want to risk, obviously, injury and all that kind of nonsense. But if you learned anything from guys who did it before you, play football. Go out there and play. You got $14 million coming your way. If they franchise you, the number goes up to like $18 million the next year. And they recognize that we're a much better team with you on our roster.
He knows that too.
Everybody else is signed up. But everyone's under contract.
But if I'm him, and I know you made a great point. If he gets injured, his value goes way down.
Yes. Now this year's contract is guaranteed because there's that option they picked up. So no matter what happens, Brandon Ayuk is getting $14 million to play football for 1 year. And, of course, this is the business of football, where San Fran can play games with them. They can franchise them next year if they want to.
Right.
And they can franchise them again after that. But that doesn't seem to be their M.O. Their M.O., and you saw with Nick Bosa just over a little less than a year ago, was we'll let you sit out training camp. We're not going to bust your balls about any of the mini camp or the off-season stuff. And then right when it's getting scary, we'll get a deal done, because if I'm San Francisco, there are some teams where we could honestly say you could feel the window closing on Super Bowl opportunities. And the majority of those teams happen to play in the AFC because of all the quarterback competition. Right now, for me, the window for San Francisco is still wide open. You've got a quarterback making no money, under contract for 2 more years. You've got virtually every star on your team, other than Chase Young, locked up contractually. Right. You've shown that you have a GM in John Lynch who's very creative and knows how to get talent in the draft, in addition to acquiring free agents. So to me, that window is wide open. So if I'm Brandon Ayuk, unless Kansas City, comes calling, or some other team, which they can't right now because you're under contract, you're in a weird spot. You have to come back and play because you're getting $14 million, you're under contract, and they are not trading you. So Brandon Ayuk is going to be a San Francisco 49er next year, whether he wants to be or not.
And truly, if he really truly has a prioritization of a championship and playing with people that wants to win a championship, I can't think of a better team than the 49ers to be.
Right. And take stock of it. Who's their competition right now? Pre-draft, pre-free agency, and any type of trades, which are not all that
Eagles, Cowboys,
big
Lions.
in the NFL.
Eagles, Cowboys, Lions.
I mean, so the Cowboys aren't even in your league. Like, you dominated them, but I agree they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Detroit might very well have been a one-hit wonder this year. We don't know yet, and that's no disrespect to what Dan Campbell's built there, because they're all coming back. You got Philly, talent-wise. You know they're going to be in the playoffs. Yeah. But who's really pressing you?
Green Bay. Why do you continue to sleep on Green Bay?
They're roster 23 and a half.
You refuse to invest in Green Bay, and I do not know why. What did Jordan Love in that outfit did not show you enough? They almost beat the Niners. It took a last-minute drive by Purdy.
I don't like to say things just for the sake of saying them, as you know. It's not my style. I've never done that in 32 years. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to write it down. You can put it in a little.
Where's the jar?
Write it down.
A little time capsule envelope if you want. All right? And I'm saying it, I want to be clear about this, just to bust your chops. All right?
I think you're going to be surprised this year.
Yeah, here's where you're going to be surprised. I'll say it right now. 2024 predictions. The Green Bay Packers come in last place in the division.
What are you talking about?
That's
nonsense.
I will say it again.
It's all nonsense.
The Green Bay Packers.
No, where the Vikings are like, what about us?
In last place.
In their division?
In their division.
Please.
Okay?
That's the Viking spot.
Okay.
That's the Viking spot.
Okay. I'm going to write it down, put a little envelope, give it to the producers. There's 19 of them, little time capsule. You can hang on to it, and we'll bring it out next January.
We have a receipt board.
We do?
You over that?
That's dead.
Okay, we're not doing that anymore?
Last season? That's all.
That didn't go too well. In any event, from San Francisco, keeping Brandon Ayuk, to a little question about Patrick Mahomes. And whether or not he's done putting rings on his finger, and if anybody cares. I'll explain what I mean by that right after this on FS1.
As we celebrate Black History Month, I'd like to highlight Ernie Barnes, artist, offensive lineman, and Renaissance man. In 1959, Barnes graduated with an art degree and was drafted by the Baltimore Colts. From there, Barnes paints, draws, and plays offensive lineman for the Titans, Chargers, and Broncos, where his nickname is Big Rembrandt. Once retired, he was hired by the Jets just to paint, and by the end of the year, he launches his first exhibit in New York. His art career is prolific in production, underappreciated by the art elite, but widely seen as his work graces album covers, the credits of Good Times, prints, and Olympic posters. His most famous painting sold for $15 million, and you can see Barnes' work in galleries and museums across the country, including the Football Hall of Fame. Ernie Barnes, artist, athlete, and American icon.
And of course, throughout the month of February, everyone here at FS1 will be doing vignettes like that. I didn't realize that the New York Jets signed him, but not to play football. I mean, if that ain't on brand for the New York Jets.
They're the best painter in the league. Worst puncher, best painter.
Give him a first-round draft pick.
Exactly.
But I didn't know that. It's an interesting story there from Kevin. All right, time for a little segment here on the Carton Show we like to call Right Now. Right Now. Here we go. Everyone ready to play along in the back there? Little John, you ready to go?
Right now.
Little John, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Thank you. There you go. All right. Okay, here we go. Right now, Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw aren't worried one little bit about Patrick Mahomes winning his third Super Bowl or catching Tom Brady because he has to get to them first.
Right.
And frankly, I want to say this about my colleague Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana, who I hate. And that is this.
You hate Joe?
Yeah, I can't stand Joe.
Why?
Mel Bato's personality, average quarterback who just was in a good system.
All right. System quarterback, like Brock Purdy.
He's the most clutch quarterback of our
like Brock Purdy. Have Joe Montana's prime or Brock Purdy in his prime.
If I may, he also sold me on a pair of Skechers. They do not help.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
They don't. They're comfortable. They're comfortable, but I don't jump any higher wearing them.
Well, couldn't
I'm just telling you, but that might be me. But let me get back to my point.
Sure,
if I may.
please.
And that is this. Everyone's talking about, will Patrick Mahomes catch Tom Brady? Yeah. Is he the GOAT? Is he in the conversation? Will he retire one day with more Super Bowls than the great one in Tom Brady? And I'm sitting back going, you sons of bitches.
Whoa.
Did you guys forget that Terry Bradshaw has 4 Super Bowl titles?
Yeah.
Did you forget that Joe Montana has 4 Super Bowl titles? So why are we worried about the great Patrick Mahomes catching Tom Brady when he hasn't caught those 2 guys? Right?
Well, because nobody believes he can three-peat.
No, forget about three-peat. And the reason you're having a tough time answering it is that there is no answer to it, because most people are so myopically influenced on the GOAT conversation and who's better, this guy or that guy, that we've completely forgotten and buried the fact that both Terry Bradshaw with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Joe Montana with San Francisco have more Super Bowl wins than Mahomes. So yes, maybe one day Mahomes is the greatest of all time. But right now, he's 4th at best, because Brady's got double the amount of Super Bowls, and 2 guys who are obviously getting much older now in Montana and Bradshaw have 1 more win than he does. So show some respect to the guys who came first.
You called Joe Montana an average quarterback at best.
He was a system quarterback.
So you would rank that system quarterback above Patrick Mahomes.
He's got 4 Super Bowls, therefore he's better than Patrick Mahomes.
So only rings are the only sort of like the only
rings. I base it on rings. That's right.
Okay, so right now, it is right now. Right now, he's got less rings.
Right now, he has less rings. So all I'm saying is this: shouldn't the conversation, if you did any research or was smart about your job, the conversation on shows like this should not be, you think Patrick Mahomes is going to overtake Brady one day? I ain't worried about that. I have a better question. Do you think he's going to beat Bradshaw and Montana?
Yes.
Okay, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So
he literally won Sunday.
He's got a dozen years.
If I'm Tom Brady, I'm sitting back there, enjoying my life as I should, because I'm wealthy and handsome.
Oh, well then.
All right?
Okay.
And I'm saying to myself, wake me when he beats Bradshaw and Montana. He ain't in my neighborhood right now. Much more on that coming up for sure, because we'll try to fill time. All right. Right now, Shohei Ohtani is already in midseason form.
Whoa.
Dodgers pitchers and catchers show up.
Whoa.
Woo! And while he's not pitching this year, because of the elbow problem, look at my guy. Look at that handsome, sexy body.
Oh, yeah.
Just hitting bizoms all over the yard.
This 6'6" and dingers right out.
How about that? Yeah, I got to tell you.
That makes me jealous a little bit.
Well, speaking of Pornhub, I wonder what videos Ben Verlander is watching right now. Anyway, that's Shohei Ohtani in midseason form. Just hitting dingers all over the park. Right now. You may know this, that Giannis Antetokounmpo has a brother named Thanos, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it, right?
Thanasis.
How do you say it?
Thanasis.
Oh, he's a Greek god?
Yes, he is.
Thanasis.
Yes.
Thanasis. Well, let's just call him Giannis's brother because it's easier.
Well,
right now, Thanasis is learning how to play defense at the NBA level. Watch him right here. There he is.
Okay.
A little baseline D. Hands up.
Yeah.
Hands up. Hands up, everybody.
That's not.
Hands up. One more time.
I don't think that's it.
Hands up.
Yeah, that's.
Hands up. Hands up. Now, I want to be clear. This is an NBA game last night. This isn't like I'm not manufacturing a video to make fun of him. The game was a little bit out of hand here, so that's what he gets in.
Yeah.
And he remembered what his youth basketball coach told him.
It does
on
like
defense.
like an 8-year-old.
Hands up.
Yeah. Someone told an 8-year-old, like, when you're playing defense, put your hands up. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like a 6-year-old
One more time.
game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hands up. Hands up. Coach, I had my hands up.
Right.
Got my hands up.
Don't sit me down, coach. It's all about effort.
Hands up.
Oh my.
You guys are funny. And by the way, that's the nicest video I could play of him from last night's game. All right, let's give you right now. My beloved New York Jets kind of feel like they won the Super Bowl when their tweet went viral announcing that there will be an announcement to release their new uniforms for 2024. That's our Jets.
Yeah, I just feel like Woody was like, man, play the hit, man. They want to see the new jersey.
They want it.
They want it.
We want it.
Right.
We want it, which
great.
is why that little treat came with the song. How's that song go?
Oh.
It's just the same. Old Jets. Yeah, sad but true, but that's for the
I love
Jets.
that they call them legacy white jerseys. Like, what is the Jets legacy?
Those are badass, by the way.
They're nice.
And those are
good.
Yeah.
So those aren't the ones that are being revealed. They announced, yes, the legacy whites are coming back. Dude, it's fresh. White on white on white on. Sorry. White. A lot of white. It's just a lot of white. It's a lot of white, which is kind of like my Pornhub account. It's a lot of white. But there's other jerseys being introduced in April of 24. And that brings me to one more. Right now. Well, right now. For those of you like me who forgot to unsubscribe to Peacock after the Chief-Dolphin playoff game, today we were automatically renewed for a one-year membership.
Oh, that's how you wheel, man.
Whoops.
That just cost me $60.
But you'll already be subscribed when they have that one playoff game next year.
Yes. Yeah. So, I forgot to unsubscribe, and I saw the note out there that the deadline was midnight last night. If you didn't unsubscribe, and we all signed up just to watch the playoff game, obviously, we just got hooked in to another month of Peacock programming.
I mean, they have Trader. There's a new show on Peacock called Trader. You can watch it.
The Housewives series, Vanderpump Rules, some good stuff there.
Does Fox own Peacock?
Oh.
Yeah. Fired.
Unsubscribe.
Nice.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, there you go.
Unsubscribe.
There you go.
Done. Cancel it, honey.
Before we take a quick break, as you like to know, one NBA thing, the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic announced, or did yesterday, for the first time ever in the franchise's history, they retired a jersey, and it's the number 32 Shaquille O'Neal jersey. And me, like everyone else in America, is saying he only played 4 years for the franchise. And while yes, he did go to an NBA Finals,
correct,
he played for them for 4 years. Why in the world are we retiring Shaq's jersey for a franchise he played 4 years for and turned his back on as soon as he possibly could?
I don't know, but I do say I hated his jacket. Did you see the suit jacket he had on?
I did not.
The pinstripe Magic?
No, you don't like that?
It was like a uniform, but
no good?
Not good.
And somewhere in America, Penny Hardaway's going, what about me?
Yeah.
What
he was actually there.
What about me?
Tracy McGrady, Grant
Hill. the whole.
And Dwight Howard now.
Dwight Howard?
See, I understand Dwight Howard.
Don't say what Dwight Howard's doing right now. Please don't.
He's probably kicking a bunch of dudes out the bed going, what about me?
What about me?
What about me? Just putting it out there. Anyway, so it's kind of embarrassing for the Magic. All right, coming up, more football coming your way. We talked about this moments ago, so if you just missed it, we'll do it again. It's the window and whether or not it's closing on San Francisco's opportunity to win an NFL championship. Right after this. Welcome back to the Carton Show. You might see a new face at the desk, but it's a Philly one here. And that's my main man, Mr. Paxton.
Let's go.
Joining us for the rest of the show, of course, Willie Colon and David Jacoby. And we are all set up to continue the post-Super Bowl conversation. And with that, we headed over to Jacoby where our headlines. Let's do it.
Niners general manager John Lynch was asked about keeping the Niners core of high-paid stars together. Yes. And here is how he addressed it.
Yeah, there's some challenges, Eric. I hope so. I think we're set up to do that. It takes putting the whole thing together, and there's also things we have to plan for, going forward. So you can't just be reckless. We never will be. It goes back to the draft being so critical because those guys, making and contributing to your team are very critical. But it goes back to the whole piece. So it's early.
So, Craig, you very smartly point out that their core guys are signed on.
Everybody.
When you look at this, they're not really signed on long term.
Nope.
Is the 49ers Super Bowl window closing?
Well, let's go to the official Carton Show Super Bowl window.
We have a Super Bowl window.
That's right. So the window opens and the window closes. Just I would say working window, and there's a peeping Tom in there as well.
Creepy neighbor.
All right, so here's the deal. Now, the reality is that all the stars other than Chase Young, he's not going to be a Niner next year. You can book that based on his performance late and the amount of money he's going to ask for. San Francisco has one major benefit for the next year, maybe two, and that is they have found a franchise quarterback. We all agreed yesterday he's a top 10 quarterback now in the NFL, and he doesn't get paid any money. So they've got this window, which is now wide open.
Wide open.
Because they're not spending $20, $30, $40 million a year on their quarterback. And that's what John Lynch is kind of alluding to. We have to be smart, recognizing that down the road, we've got some big contracts we're going to have to hand out. It actually plays to Chicago, which I'll explain later in the show about what the Bears are going to do with Justin Fields. So right now, the San Francisco window is wide open.
Wide open.
It is not closed at all. A, because they're in the NFC, and B, because you're getting top quality quarterback play out of a guy that is not being paid top quality quarterback money. Their big decisions are really a year from now. What do you do with Ayuk? Do you franchise him? Do you give him a long-term deal? And all those other contracts that expire in 2025, how many of those guys go into that last year lame duck? How many of those guys get restructured? How many guys get extended? And are we doing that off a Super Bowl win? So unlike a lot of teams who make that run and then immediately the window's closing and closing and closing, it's kind of a unique situation where San Francisco has made a couple runs, obviously without getting the trophy, but the window wide open.
It's closing. You know, while I sit here and listen to John Lynch talking about, we're not going to be reckless, but they're planning. When he says the word planning, he's referring to Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Because he's going to be the guy that's going to be north of 40, 45 million.
And Plax, remember this. Because he wasn't a first-round draft pick, there is no fifth-year option.
Right.
They don't get to make that decision and extend his contract another year.
So it's basically like on a 4-year deal.
That's right.
But when you look at when he says they don't have to be reckless, you look at George Kittle and you look at CMC, those guys have maybe 4 or 5 more years of elite football in them.
I'm with you on that.
So they have one more deal. But when you look at the guys like Brandon Ayuk, like what are you going to do with him? And he's a guy that Brock Purdy can grow with within the next 3 or 4 years. But what are you going to do with San Francisco after this year if you don't hoist the trophy?
Yeah, but in the offseason, they still have to make some big-time moves. They got to get another shutdown corner. You talk about Greenlaw now suffering an injury. What does he look like coming back? Forward? You talk about Chase Young being gone. They had a big splash when they got Hargrave in the building. That was big for them. But overall, defensively, they may be losing their DC, right? And with a new DC comes a new scheme. Who wants new toys that can fit a scheme? So they have to be more cognizant of the moves they make because if Valor on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to be money good. Defense was that hiccup this year. So whoever, if it's not going to be Steve Wilkes, whoever the new guy is, you got to save some room for that guy to operate with his
but for the shutdown corner, there aren't many, shutdown corners in this league that are going to be available. And we didn't even get the opportunity to speak about Greenlaw and what happened to him. I felt really, terrible for him in that situation. But, is he going to be back healthy when the season starts?
I doubt it's when the season starts.
If he goes to Aaron Rodgers' surgeon, then he'll be back on the field come September. I'm being serious. But Chase Young won't be there. But just like Willie said, man, they have to find a way to shore up that defense in the secondary if they want to.
And remember this, if you want to sign a guy, sometimes we overstate, how stringent the cap is. You can always make it work. You can restructure contracts. You give guys big signing bonuses, guaranteed money up front. So if there's a guy out there, as you take a look at kind of, the name skill position guys from a standpoint of what the cap hit is versus, when they become free agents, they're still good for another year. Right. And because Brock Purdy ain't making any money and you have him under contract for a couple more years before you really got to pay him, and there is no fifth-year option, that window is wide open. And while we're talking about windows, I want to be very fair. Normally when you win a Super Bowl, the window starts closing immediately, whether it's age or, guys retiring or guys looking like Chris Jones will to go get a lot of money maybe elsewhere. Because it's Mahomes and he's only 28, Kansas City's window wide open as well.
I agree.
And that's not the norm. Normally, you win one, and then you may not get back there for a while. Their window stays wide open.
Yeah, but on top of like what we talked about, Andy Reid ain't going nowhere, right? So when you have Andy Reid, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Kelsey, who hasn't talked about retirement either. I mean, the whole band is.
Well, ain't nobody retiring when you can go for something that's never been done before.
Exactly.
I really think if they had lost, and I'm making this up, I don't know, but I think it's much more likely that if a guy like Reid or Kelsey were considering retirement, you do it off the loss. You don't do it when you now have a chance to do something that's never been done.
Yeah, that's the reason why John Lynch says that's why the draft is so important.
Yep.
Maybe you can find a Purdy. It's not, it doesn't happen often, but maybe you can get some of those young guys on rookie contracts to come in and compete without paying them a lot of money.
Yeah, look, San Francisco, I could almost write them in right now. They're going to win the NFC West. Like that's done.
Yeah.
Like that's a lock. That's a wrap. So that's why that window is wide open. Go ahead, Jacob.
Moving on to our second headline, and there's been a lot of discussion since the Super Bowl about comparing Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady. Now, Mahomes was asked about this, and one thing I thought he would do was sort of run from it and say one at a time, but he didn't. He leaned all the way into it. Here's what he had to say.
I want to make sure I maximize my opportunities, and obviously the goal is always 7. It's always to try to get as much as you can. And so all I can do is just try to maximize my opportunities every single day, continue to work to be better, not only for myself but for my team. And we'll see what happens at the end of my career.
So he said the goal is 7, obviously, in relation to Tom Brady.
So I guess he doesn't want to be better than Tom Brady? Is that the idea?
Is it too early to start comparing Mahomes and Brady?
No, it's not too early, but as I said about a half hour ago, it's disrespectful to Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw because everyone forgets that they've won 4. Right, so the rarefied air that Mahomes is entering is getting to 4 because only 3 guys have won more than him, right? Tom Brady's got 7, 6 with New England, 1 with Tampa. You've got Terry Bradshaw's got 4, all with your Pittsburgh Steelers, and Joe Montana's got 4, obviously, with the Niners. So, yes, big picture, I think the goal should be 8. So you've got more than Brady, and then you can announce yourself as the greatest of all time, and nobody would argue it because you have more Super Bowls than anybody else, right? But how about showing a little respect to the 2 guys that stand in between you and Tom Brady? Like, you can't pretend that Bradshaw, who I know, he played in the 70s, it counts. Or Joe Montana, 80s and 90s, it counts. Those 2 men are second place all time in Super Bowl wins. So I'm trying to figure out why we're so quick to compare Mahomes to Brady and his 7 titles and not give any homage at all to the 2 guys that have 4 because they exist.
I mean, with all due respect, when you mention Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, when you say Terry Bradshaw, before Super Bowls doesn't jump off the page because of it was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Because the defense.
He's still Curtin.
Defense and John Stallworth and
Lynn Swan.
And all those guys. But when we start comparing Mahomes to Brady, we're talking about in which the rate he has acquired these 3 world championships, being 28 years old, and Tom Brady played till he was 46. So if you put all those numbers together, we're looking at, he may be capable of winning another, 3 or 4 more Super Bowls in the next, 15 years.
I think he's certainly capable of doing it, barring some kind of catastrophic injury. But we do it, and I try to digest, what people are talking about, so I don't miss out on anything. And I haven't heard a single person on TV or radio talk about the fact that you're omitting 2 guys that won 4 Super Bowls. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, why are we talking about Brady when he hasn't done better than Bradshaw or Montana?
Yeah, you talk about Bradshaw being slighted. Like, if I'm Joe Burrow, if I'm Lamar Jackson, if I'm all these guys, I feel slighted. Because you're telling me right now, you got the right to get on the league. Like, we don't matter. Like, if we don't have an opportunity next year to kind of get right and get to the Super Bowl as well. So, obviously, he's looking at the situation where he goes, 7 is the magic number. But if I'm Josh Allen, those guys, this is bulletin board material.
Except for this.
He beat those guys. I get that.
Well, not only
did
he beat them, and most likely continue to beat them, those guys, only Joe Burrow has beaten them.
Sure.
Right? Josh Allen hasn't. Lamar Jackson obviously has not. Those guys can't be sensitive and complain about being left out of the conversation. They've never done it.
Right. One thing that is important to point out, so you go back to that graphic, right? You're like, Mahomes is on pace to beat Brady. Mahomes on pace to beat Brady. One thing people forget is Brady went on a Super Bowl winless streak for quite some time after this. There was 10 years between that 3rd Super Bowl win and his 4th, which is something to really consider because it's not promised. I think people do bypass Bradshaw and they bypass Montana because we assume Mahomes is going to keep winning at his pace. Because the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, took a 10-year gap between his Super Bowls.
The only person alive was Craig at that time. When we were all young, we didn't watch Brady. I'm sorry, did I throw wrong?
It's okay. It's not lies.
I didn't mean
I happen to have been alive when Bradshaw won 04.
Right.
Yeah. When a guy named Rocky Blyer played with 9 toes. I remember.
Yeah, we were all a twinkle in our father's eye while you was sitting on the couch.
And the other thing is, football is not baseball. It's not basketball. where you could talk about streaks and talk about what you've done over a period of time and try to now use that period of time to predict what you're going to do in the same amount of time or games or appearances. Like baseball lends itself to that, right? Basketball lends itself to that. Football doesn't. And you can't ever forget, and this will be the most cliche thing I hope I say today, it's still a very violent sport. It is. So every time he drops back to throw the ball, there's always that chance of, not that anyone roots for it, of course, but that's on the table. So let's just slow our roll about the dude winning 7 or 8, and let's worry about him catching Bradshaw and Montana and getting past them before we're like, if I'm Tom Brady and I'm King Kong and I'm on the top of the mountain, I ain't worried about Patrick Mahomes one little bit. Because there's 2 other dudes you got to pass before you can even think about getting to what I accomplished.
So you mean to tell me that after Tom Brady won his first 3 Super Bowls, he wasn't looking at Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw as being in a barometer?
He didn't match it for 11 years.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
He didn't match it for 11 years.
He was still looking to do it, though.
Yeah, but he was.
Thank you for saying that.
10 times.
He was looking at the guys who had won more than him. He had 3. Those guys had 4. So what I'm saying is Mahomes and Mahomes sycophants out there should be doing the same thing. Brady's not the goal right now. You got to win as many as Bradshaw and Montana. And then you have to win more than those 2 guys. And then and by the way, and play this out. If and when he ties Bradshaw and Montana with 4, all right, now you got to win another one. Now you got to win another one to be ahead of those guys. And when you get to that place, you still got to win 3 more Super Bowls to be better than Brady.
Hey, it can
so
be
let's
done.
relax.
So you say that's never going to happen?
It can
never happen.
When Tom Brady has won all these championships, everybody on this panel right here can sit here and say that would never be done again. And now we're watching a young man who was on the brink of doing.
He ain't even close.
What you mean he's not close?
He's 4 away from tying and 5 away from surpassing it. I'll give you an example.
The man is 28 years old, man.
I'll give you a really bad NBA example. There's a lot of people think that Wilt Chamberlain, athletically, now just pure talent, was a far better basketball player than Bill Russell. But any list that anyone's ever created, Bill Russell's ahead of Wilt Chamberlain. Why is that? Because he's got
13 championships.
8 straight. Okay? So beyond that, it's the same argument that I'm going to make for Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes, great quarterback, will never be thought of as the GOAT until you got 8. You got to get to 8. And I can tell you right now, that's almost impossible.
So were the teams better in Boston with Bill Russell than they were with Chamberlain?
Say it again, I apologize.
Were the teams better in Boston?
He certainly had much more Hall of Fame talent around him than Wilt ever did. But you get my point.
Starting 5.
I said it was a bad basketball analogy. It was really bad. You understand where I'm going with it. You understand where I'm going with it, right? Anyhow, just remember this. The window is open in Kansas City. It's closed in New York. It's open in San Francisco.
For both teams.
It's closed in Cleveland. It's open in Baltimore. It's closed in Buffalo. It's open in LA.
It's not closed in Buffalo?
For the Chargers.
It's
closed in Carolina. And New Orleans and Indianapolis.
Keep it closed. Keep it closed.
There you go. And Tampa.
Open it for Buffalo.
I'll tell you what, Buffalo, here's Buffalo.
Crack. Okay, I'll take it. Get a little breeze. Pittsburgh.
All right, what else you got, Jacoby? Good.
Moving on to our final headline, and there is some new information about one of the biggest storylines in this offseason. What will the Bears do with Justin Fields and the number 1 pick? There are some reports. Take a look at the latest odds of where he will play.
There we go.
What's at the top there? Not the Bears team he's currently on. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you make of this new information, Mr. Carton?
Yeah, I think it's very smart. It goes back to Brock Purdy, and here's how. San Fran has the benefit of 2 more years of Brock Purdy before you have to pay him. So, if you're Chicago, and while Justin Fields has shown some glimpses of being a decent quarterback, he has a lot more work to do, obviously. And they had a good little run there once they got DJ Moore, and they won 7 games this past year. And he had a combined 3,000 some odd yards passing and running, and looked far more competent for sure in the last month and a half of the season than he did certainly all of last year. Here's the reality. The Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback. They obviously cut ties with Mitchell Trubisky. He's gone. You have Kenny Pickett Stonehouse under contract. Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin allegedly likes his game a lot. Makes a lot of sense to me. The other team I wouldn't sleep on right now are the Vegas Raiders. The Vegas Raiders just hired Luke Getsy, who was the former offensive coordinator for Justin Fields in Chicago. Now, I'm not saying it's always apples to apples, oranges to oranges, but it would make sense to me for a team that has Aiden O'Connell as their incumbent starting quarterback, and you have an offensive coordinator who has worked with Justin Fields, that the Raiders would have interest. If you are Chicago, here's why you do trade Justin Fields. Number one, you're going to get a lot of things in return, draft picks, and maybe some other already NFL caliber players to come join your team. So you're upgrading your talent, number one. Number two, by getting the draft pick at quarterback and having him under your lock and key contractually for 4 years plus the option year, if he pans out to be very good, you've effectively kicked the can down the road from the $20, $30 million a year contract that good quarterbacks are going to get. Justin Fields has promise. He's not there yet. So I can trade him to a team that's desperate for a quarterback, and now I reset the clock 3 more years down the lane for having to pay a franchise quarterback.
I don't think that the Chicago Bears will pass on Caleb Williams.
And that's the other part.
So they have to find a way to unload Justin Fields. It's just like you said, Pittsburgh is a destination. I think he fits what they do really well. I think they brought Mr. Trubisky in to do what Justin Fields is capable of doing, but Justin Fields just hasn't been able to do those things in Chicago because the offensive line is atrocious, and they basically give him no skilled players to play with outside of DJ Moore. And also, you mentioned the Las Vegas Raiders. They need a quarterback also. I know Antonio. He's a defensive-minded coach, but he knows that if you want to win this league, you have to have a quarterback. And I'm gonna add one more team to the mix, and that's the Atlanta Falcons.
Sure.
You have
Desmond Ritter's not the guy.
You have Kyle Pitts. Desmond Ritter's not the guy. You have Bijan Robinson and a new head coach in Raheem Moore. So I think it makes a lot of sense to bring them down to Atlanta. And everybody's saying that Atlanta is one quarterback from being able to compete in the NFC South.
And as you see, Atlanta is right there behind him, staying in Chicago and going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, the favorite right now, and because that the belief is that Tomlin does like him, or at least has expressed to guys that he likes him a lot. But I don't think there's any way Justin Fields is a Chicago Bear next year, because financially it doesn't make sense. They're going to have to make a decision next year. Are you picking up that 5th-year option for a guy that in a quarterback passing league hasn't thrown for 3,000 yards, right? And he, came on a little bit once they acquired DJ Moore, and that combination worked. But they got to make a decision this offseason about whether or not you're picking up that 5th-year option, and you can't. You can't give Justin Fields, what's the number, $25, $30 million for year 5, when you can kick that down the lane 3 more years and possibly get a better quarterback if you believe that Caleb Williams or Drake May or whomever you like coming out of the draft is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. But that'll be the biggest story this offseason until Chicago decides what they're going to do with Justin Fields. All right, coming up, we got some more on Kyle Shanahan, still dealing with some Super Bowl reverberations and some of the decisions he made, or lack of decisions that he made. And it's Wednesday, which of course brings up Willie's favorite segment, which is something called
What the
That's coming up. Still tons of football coming your way. Hey, how about Subway stories to start your morning, and the beauty of those foot-long pretzels and churros and all the other greatness there.
Churros.
At Subway, some breaking news in the world of the NBA. This comes from Woj and Ramona Shelbourne, who both obviously do a great job covering the NBA. There's a story that they're perpetuating that 24 hours prior to the recent ending of the trade deadline, that the owner of the Golden State Warriors, with the encouragement of Draymond Green, reached out to Jenny Buss, the owner of the LA Lakers, to see if there was any possibility that, based on some of the public frustration they'd seen from LeBron James, that if there'd be an opportunity to make a trade. Now, Draymond Green is represented by the same agent, Clutch Sports, as LeBron is, and they are obviously well known as friends. So Draymond Green went to Mr. Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, and apparently said, why don't you call Clutch up and see if we can get a deal done. The idea is that obviously Steph Curry would have clearly stayed there and Draymond would have stayed there. They never got the particulars as to players they were willing to offer, draft picks, and all that, because as the story now goes, as I've just read it during the break, LeBron James shot it down right there and never got beyond, hey, let's at least take a look-see at what they're willing to offer and what the new Warriors would be if I decided to go there. But the phone call was made, and Jenny Buss has long had a policy of, I want my star players to want to play here.
Right.
And if you're an unhappy star and there's an opportunity to maybe do right by you and us get legitimate value in return, I'm willing to have any conversation. LeBron James apparently is happy and content being on a 500 basketball team that'll be in the play-in tournament for the second year in a row.
They might be playing against the Warriors in the play-in
and
tournament.
very well might be playing against Golden State. Yeah, but interesting. And, look, this is what you should do if you're a struggling team that, is still holding on with dear life to try to get one more run at it with the biggest player you've ever had in your franchise history in Steph Curry. And I respect the fact that they picked up the phone. Because if you don't pick up the phone, the answer is no, because you just don't know. When you pick up the phone, even though it turned out that the answer was no, why not shoot your shot?
Yeah, I mean, the Golden State Warriors are shelling themselves, but I think it's LeBron's frustration. I think it's starting to get annoying to everybody. When
he's not good enough to carry a team anymore.
Well, also the cryptic text of the hourglass, right? And then time after time you watch him, it's like, all right, either speak up or say nothing. He chooses to kind of do this kind of silent protest. At the end of the day, they have to make a move. They didn't. He doesn't want to go, and so the Warriors are like, all right, we got to move on.
Yeah, and it makes sense that if he was going to go somewhere, he'd stay in California because his son's at USC and all that. So it's like you're telling him to move his family to Chicago or something like that, but it was shot down right away. But here's the deal, as Jacoby just alluded to, neither one of these teams are winning an NBA title. It's just not happening right now. You got Minnesota, you got Oklahoma City, and don't sleep on the Clippers, who are third right now out west. But I just love the fact that this is where we are with LeBron's career.
Well, LeBron, he's very careful about his legacy, and I don't think he wants to be traded. He has not been traded. He's got a player option for next year. You play out the rest of this year. You don't take the player option. You can kind of go wherever you want, which I think is a cleaner way for him to finish his career than to be traded like this. There's one interesting thing about this that you mentioned, the Draymond Green of it all.
Yes.
The idea, because Draymond and LeBron are close. They went to the Super Bowl together. They spent a lot of time together. If anyone knows what LeBron is thinking that's not part of his inner circle, it's Draymond Green. And the idea that Draymond went to the owner of his own team and said,
makes you think.
Why not? Why not just see what happens? Maybe there's something there.
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't see how it makes either one of these teams better. I mean, if you're Golden State, what are you going to do? Unload Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, and Klay Thompson? Listen, LeBron and Steph, more so LeBron, he doesn't play, 38, 40 minutes anymore. That's just.
He is still playing all-star caliber basketball.
He's playing all-star level basketball, but what does that do and help?
I got to be honest, I love it. I love it because I'm a Knicks fan. And watching these two franchises, basically 500 basketball teams with no chance of winning an NBA title, have these desperate conversations while I'm sitting there going, as soon as my dudes get back on the court, we're the team to beat. You guys can talk about all the fake trades you want. It's embarrassing.
They also they could make themselves a nice little LeBron destination.
No,
play well.
By the way, I speak for all Knicks fans.
No, you don't.
No, you
zero.
You don't want him now to speak for all Knicks fans.
Yeah, we do.
You do not speak for all Knicks fans.
I do.
You don't want him now?
I am Vox Populopus when it comes to the New York Knicks, and I can tell you, as the leader of Knick Nation, there's not a Knick fan alive that wants LeBron now. We did want him.
Let me ask you a question.
We wanted him when he went to Miami.
If LeBron James right now joins the New York Knicks, he's the best player on the basketball team.
No, he is not. He'd be the third best player on the Knicks.
Who?
Jalen Brunson,
Julius Randle,
OT. That's right. He at least plays defense. Your guy doesn't. And LeBron James, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're 500.
Don't want him now.
Wow.
Let's revisit this when he's on the Knicks.
Wow.
Let's revisit this when he's on the Knicks.
You got the Spike Lee puffer coat on.
I want to be clear.
He'll come in like this with his LeBron jersey, with his Knicks jersey on. He'll come in just like that. I guarantee you 100%.
I got no interest in LeBron James. This is not the Knicks team that needs LeBron James. We needed him a decade ago. Yeah, good. I got you. All right. That being said, I would be sitting courtside for his first game. about that. No doubt about that. I'd be giving him the talcum powder before the game. Yeah, another thing he stole from Jordan. All right, from that, let's get to our Wednesday segment. You guys love it. That's what they tell me. Although something we like to call
What the Wednesday.
All right, here we go. Believe it or not, WTF Wednesday starts off in the golf world. I know.
Yeah, you gotta talk about golf.
Yeah.
What?
The Waste Management Open out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Always the week of the Super Bowl.
Man.
This year, dude's doing snow angels in the greenside bunker right there. There's guys that are just watch the fat guy go down the hill because that's awesome. Fat people are funny. There you go. That's right. Slap his boobs. Slap his boobs. Slap his boobs. That's right. So it got so bad this year that they actually cut off alcohol sales early on Sunday. So for all you drunkards out of Phoenix, I say,
what the?
I thought that was a Buffalo Bills football game.
Yeah. I've been in a Waste Management. Them people are drunk before they even get to the field.
Yes, that's how golf should be. You should be rowdy and you should be able to go Newton.
Them people are fired up.
Anytime you want. Let's go to soccer real quick. I don't follow European soccer all that much, but when a guy makes a great defensive play, you got to give the guy credit for it. Watch this little scenario. Dude's on the ground, and he makes the save. Dude's on the ground. That's an easy goal for Man City. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And bang! That's right. Saved the goal in that game.
Those guys are so accurate with that soccer ball. I thought he may have done it on purpose.
Nah, I don't know if it's intentional. The guy got a big ass head.
I'm going the other way. They're not accurate. Sometimes they shoot the goal and they miss by 40 yards. I'm just like, what are you doing?
No.
One more time. Yeah.
That's like he's on purpose.
Well, that guy's got CTE. All right, let's go to Major League Baseball real quick. As you know, it's Black History Month, and everyone here in FS1 are putting together vignettes, as you've seen throughout the broadcast day. Major League Baseball decided to honor some of their former African-American players. Interesting, though, that a guy that's essentially banned from the Hall of Fame is the guy that they chose to honor, as MLB honored Barry Bonds for Black History Month, and he has essentially been blackballed from the Hall of Fame for steroid use, and for all the African-American players that obviously made a difference, Kurt Flood more than any, Jackie Robinson, of course, they picked Barry Bonds. Interesting choice.
Yeah, even though it seems like a tip of the hat, it's still not enough. Get Barry into the Hall of Fame.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Even before the whole steroids thing, during his Pittsburgh career, he was an absolute MVP. He was a Hall of Famer.
Well, think about this. Major League Baseball, and I'm a huge baseball guy, and I obviously have a great relationship with the commissioner and the league. The reality that Major League Baseball's all-time home run hitter, RBI leader, hit leader, run score leader, is Cy Young Award leader. None of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. That's a problem. They should all be in the Hall of Fame. Hey, Major League Baseball.
What the?
All right, let's go back to Super Bowl 58 halftime show. We are still on the lookout for the dancer. The dancer dancing up in the mosh pit behind Usher.
Who threw him? Where did he land?
Dude got thrown 10 feet in the air, landed face first, and
there has to be a trampoline over there.
Get up there. You can't even get that high on a trampoline.
Yeah. And no idea where that guy is, where he landed, or if he's okay.
This is one of the most underreported stories in the history of sports media.
Hey, Usher's dancer.
What the?
All right, we're the only show that cares about the health and safety of this man.
And I got one more for you. Today, of course, is Valentine's Day, and you may be aware that farmers sometimes have a tough time finding love, which is why there's a farmer's dating site.
It is.
Well, one farmer was so lonely, he decided to paint his cow.
Oh, boy.
A little love scene on the side of the cow. Yeah, watch it here again. There you go. Yeah. Peter complained that was animal cruelty, but that's Peter, so who cares?
The front leg is kind of hot, though.
That front leg thick, boy. That front leg thicker than a sticker, boy.
That front leg got something in the back.
I keep staring at it, boy.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
So, happy Valentine's Day.
That cow got a walking hook, boy.
I'm just saying, that cow's going to have a limp tomorrow, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Hamburger.
Hey, cow farmer.
What the?
We got
Hey, man.
That's why it's called WTF.
Love is love.
I didn't expect that to be so exciting.
Up, Kyle Shanahan answered the continuing criticism of his players not knowing about the overtime rules. And we've got a crazy ticket price out there for a game coming up this week that makes absolutely no sense to Jacoby and William Plax. And I'll explain it to you right after this.
Yeah, throw the cow back up there.
Go green! T-Walk! T-Walk! That's my boys, man.
I got a quick question for you, Plax. If Michigan State's playing Notre Dame in football, who are you rooting for?
Michigan State.
That's what I'm talking about. I just checking on that one. And congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Plax's son accepted a scholarship to play football at Notre Dame.
Dollar.
So I'm sure that's great for the Burns family. Congratulations to you. Looking forward to watching your son play on Saturdays. No doubt about that.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get to more of that Kyle Shanahan stuff, quick little interesting sidebar from Super Bowl 58. Brittany Mahomes shared a text publicly yesterday from Patrick Mahomes dated January 5th. So right after the regular season's coming to an end, and of course they all sat out that Week 18 game. But Patrick Mahomes said to his wife Brittany in a text, "I decided we're going to win the Super Bowl." It's a little cocky, right? But pretty cool to see that, the mindset after a frustrating regular season for Kansas City. He texted his wife and said, "I decided we are going to win the Super Bowl." So on the heels of that, a lot of other famous people in sports decided, well, I'm going to reveal some of my text messages.
Oh, okay.
And we happen to have some of them here. So here's another one from Patrick Mahomes that we can show you right there. "I decided to marry the most annoying woman on earth."
Yeah.
I don't know who he sent.
That's crazy.
I'm not quite sure who he sent that to.
That's odd.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. And since we're kind of going along with the theme here of I decided, there's the Kyle Shanahan text message that was released yesterday. "I decided winning the conference championship game is enough for me."
Well, he's persistent.
So you got to get that.
Great.
He's done that 3 times.
So the Patrick Mahomes tweet, what was the name that they call each other on top of the text?
I couldn't see that from here.
It should Patrick with 5 Ks. I was worried there'd only be 3, but there's 5.
5 Ks.
Really? Yeah.
5 Ks.
Really?
Yeah. 3K is a message.
That was a close one.
Yeah.
Then Woody Johnson, owner of the New York Jets, apparently released a text message right after the Super Bowl. "I decided to try to win the offseason again by announcing the Jets have new jerseys for everybody to see in April." And then there's one more, and this comes down in South Florida. Tyreek Hill put a text out.
Oh, man.
"I decided that condoms are stupid and the world needs more of my offspring."
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So.
Shoot or shoot.
Shoot or shoot.
Some of us shoot blanks.
We need more cheaters.
Yeah. Endangered species.
That's true. It's an endangered species. Great point.
So the first one of those text messages was real. Just in case you wanted to know.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes did text his wife on January 5th that we're going to win another. I decided we're going to win another Super Bowl.
Craig, if I may, can we look at Patrick's text again? Just the first one that
you guys put it up
because
there?
there's a detail that we just glossed over that I thought was important. When you look at the very first one, it says, "I'll see you in Las Vegas." Does that mean between January 5th and the Super Bowl, he never went home?
I'll see you in Las Vegas.
It's like, shouldn't he come home tonight for dinner or
That's
something?
the guy that's locked in.
Locked in.
I mean, he says it like she's not going to be there.
Yeah. It's like, I won't be home for 5 weeks. I got
And
locked
if you
in.
know anything about her, she's going to be there. There's a camera on, and I want to be in front
But
of
she
it.
still calls her husband by his first name, and his phone is usually like Honey Buns or
Yeah, don't make really excited.
Honey Buns ain't going to get it.
whatever the case may be.
All right. From that, let's go to First in Football now with Jacoby, Honey Buns.
First in football, well, the Chiefs Super Bowl parade is later this afternoon, and I wanted to just show this video from last year. Patrick Mahomes takes a picture with this fan, right? This is last year at the parade, not today. And watch what he does with the actual Lombardi trophy after taking a picture with the fan. Here, hold this. I'm going to walk away. He gave away the Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, but look at his other hand, Jacoby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can we expect from the Chiefs parade later today?
I mean, it's going to be more of the same, right? It's going to be drunken bewilderment amongst fans.
Yep.
It's going to be, unfortunately, Travis Kelce reciting the only Beastie Boys lyric he knows. Because which is a little tired at this point.
The man of the culture.
You got to fight. We get it, dude. It's 40 years old. It's like me quoting Bobby Darin on the show. And it's going to be great. It's what every fan base wants to be doing today in their city, and that is playing hooky from work or school, being out there on a street corner legally, and waiting for your heroes to drive on by. Now, let me go to Plax on this, because you got to ride down the Canyon of Heroes, which is about an 8-block stretch here in Manhattan, when the New York Giants won the Super Bowl after beating Tom Brady, of course, in New England, and about 1 million some odd people came out. And for all the things you've experienced, what was that like?
It was so overwhelming that you really didn't understand the magnitude until you got there to Broadway. And I remember the next day that we got home, and we were traveling from Newark Airport back to the stadium, and we were coming 95 North, and we looked on the other side of the turnpike, going south, and all the traffic was stopped, and people were actually jumping up and down on top of their cars on the turnpike, and you was like, these people are crazy. So I think that we understood it then, but then when we went to the parade and you saw people hanging out of skyscrapers 40, 50 stories up, 2-3 million people there, man, and we were absolutely hammered.
It's still like 8 in the morning, too.
I mean, we were on the float, we were trying to keep our balance, but it's a beautiful time, man. I got the experience, and it's really something.
When
special.
you guys did it in that parking lot in Pittsburgh, what was that?
Oh, no. We actually have an Avenues of America in Pittsburgh, right?
Do you?
Yeah, that's where we went down. What was wild is, man, you see all the fans, and to Plax's point, you go down the boulevard, you see the confetti, see everybody hanging out the windows. What's interesting is you start seeing babies with Palomalo wigs, right? And they're holding them up, right? And you start seeing like people dressed up as the guys on the team. That was the wild part. But overall, man, I think it's for fans, those who think they were never going to see a Super Bowl again. We see tears coming down their face, and they love you. Watching Troy Polamalu crowd surf. Ben's, cracking beers. Debo staring at everybody, refused to smile for some reason. And it was just a great time, man. And I was drunk for 3 months, so I get the whole.
I get it. Listen, as you should be. All right, what else you got?
Moving on to second in football, Kyle Shanahan was again asked about how he handled communication about the overtime rules to his team, and he explained it for the 17th time. Here he is once again.
We asked the position coach to do that, but I didn't cover it in a meeting on the Super Bowl week. I don't think that changes anything. We did it with our analytics department. We decided that going into the playoffs. I think you guys know how I've explained how I make decisions with that stuff in the past. I take all the information I can get, especially ones I haven't been in, and our analytics felt that was the best way to go.
Craig, are we making too much of a big deal out of this?
I'm not. Everyone else seems to be.
Well, I just got to go back to yesterday, because you said those two guys were sleeping in a meeting. They were not sleeping in a meeting because it never happened.
That's right. I appreciate you sticking up for
Absolutely.
You both fell asleep looking at that clip.
The bigger point I was making yesterday, and Jaguzi, the fullback, said exactly what I said yesterday. It don't mean a damn thing whether or not we knew the rules or not.
It matters when you lose.
When I go out on the field, I got a job to do, regardless of what the overtime rules are. It is on us. We didn't get the job done. It's not on Kyle Shanahan or the position coaches who, for whatever reason, decided not to share the information with the guys. And let's be honest about it. If you went to the guys, even if you waited to the week of the Super Bowl, so you didn't discuss it in the previous playoff games, because this rule was in for the entire postseason, not just the Super Bowl. We just never saw it because none of those games went to overtime. It's going to go in one ear and out the other, because you're not guaranteed having the situation arise. And I'll say it for the millionth time, like Kujuzisik said, and that is, it don't matter. It does not matter if you had told us the rule or didn't tell us the rule. We didn't stop them from scoring a touchdown, and that's that.
Yeah, and I understand Shanahan's logic. He talked about, listen, my defense had 11 plays. They finished the fourth quarter. They were gassed. They spent the whole day chasing Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about having a 10-digit lead going into overtime. They needed a break. He understood that whatever happened on the field, they were going to have to match Patrick Mahomes anyway, so he's preparing for that. I don't have a problem with it. Now that I kind of think about, especially his reasoning behind John Lynch backed him up and said it was a sound idea. It's just unfortunate.
Now, look, I do think when you get into the analytical part of knowing what you're chasing and having the benefit of you have 4 downs to get a first down. Yep. Every time you get a first down, you have 4 downs, not 3. You are not punting, obviously, if you're trailing in that exact scenario. So I do appreciate the analytical answer of you want the benefit of the 4th down because it changes what you do on 3rd and 6. Yep. If I know I got 2 chances to get 6 yards to get another fresh set of downs. So I think moving forward, it'd be very surprising in an overtime playoff game for someone to take the rock, but there are circumstances where you do take the rock. And getting a 3rd possession, which becomes sudden death, is something you have to play into it. And what you're saying is right. I'm not sure how gassed they were or not, but I do know that Niner defense did not end regulation very well.
Yeah.
So if I have a chance to give them a couple minutes, knowing that I'm totally competent and comfortable that I'm going to put points on the board, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown, and then ask my defense to do its job, and I have a defense that was ranked top 5 all year, I'm going to put my defense on the field with the lead and tell them to do their job.
Absolutely. I don't see how a coach in the Super Bowl can make a decision that's going to decide whether they win a world championship or not and make the decision based off of my defense is tired. I just don't see how that comes into the plan of trying to win a Super Bowl. I mean, everybody out there is giving everything that they possibly can. Everybody's supposed to be in tip-top shape or play through whatever. When I was in that situation, in that 2-minute drive, man, we were so focused on winning, tired it wasn't even an option.
Sure, it's all adrenaline.
It never even seeped into my brain that I would get to a point to where I was so tired that I could not do my job to the best of my ability. So I still say that Kyle Shanahan deserves to take the blame for that reason alone.
But 2 different things, and then I know we got to take a break. If you want to blame him for the decision of taking the ball first, that's up for grabs. Yeah. You can argue that, and you believe what you believe, and you may not win the argument, but you're not going to lose the argument for sure. The question really is not necessarily that he took it. What people are now jumping on him for is the fact that he didn't tell the guys what the rule was. That's a much different conversation than whether or not it makes sense to take the ball or not to take the ball if you win the toss. Now, if you want to argue because of the 4th down situation and knowing what you're chasing and having that extra down to get a first down every time you do, I'm with you on that. My point is, let's not kill the guy for not communicating to the players during the week before that this is a new rule.
It's a 3-second explanation anyway. You know what I mean? It's, they can match if we score. And another thing is the whole decision about whether to receive the ball or to defer and kick the ball, that's a coin flip thing where you look good if you win.
You're right.
You know what I mean? It's really a coin flip thing. There's advantages to both sides, and it feels very coin flippy to me that we're just going to criticize whoever loses the game and makes that decision. Yep. But communicating to the players is I'm kind of getting closer and closer to your side of this, Craig. It's like, guess what? If we score, they can match or win. That's all it takes. Whether you said that 2 weeks ago or said it the day before or said it during the game, who cares?
Kansas City's on their own 25-yard line. You're up by 3. Make a play.
Yeah.
Make a play.
You got a lot of opportunities to make a play.
And by the way, you had a 4th and 1. You didn't stop them on the sneak to the right side. You had the 3rd and 6. Right? You had ample opportunity to stop them or at least to hold them to a field goal and then get that sudden death 3rd down possession. So if you want to be critical of them taking the ball, I think that's a fair conversation to have. And we know how it turned out. You cannot criticize Shanahan for not telling the guys.
In the NFC Championship game that were questionable. These to me are not. Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll do you one better. Even if it played out the way everyone wanted it to play out, where Kansas City is now coming down the field and they score a touchdown and they claimed that they had discussed we're going for 2. Yeah. Let's be honest. They would have converted it. They would have.
Yeah. Right.
They went right down the field, and what we learned about San Fran's defense, they were not going to make a play in the big spot. All right, we're crazy late for a break. They're telling me to remind you to say Happy Valentine's Day.
Willie?
Not quite sure why I'm doing that, but Willie wants to be your Valentine coming up. I have no idea what that means other than the big fella's feeling a certain kind of way. Meaning, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I gotta keep that away from me. More coming up after
chocolate.
All right, fellas, don't forget it. Come on now, what's that?
What's that hat?
That reminds me of third grade all over again.
Big D.
Time for a little segment we call Cupid or Stupid on this Valentine's Day 2024. There are certain situations in pro sports right now in which we have to decide should the two people involved in a situation in sports stay together, Cupid, or should they go their separate ways, stupid? All right, and Jacoby's got us all set up here for Cupid or Stupid.
The first couple we will be evaluating is the match between Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones.
Stupid.
Cupid or Stupid? Oh,
Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Jerry Jones, unfortunately, in my opinion, I love him to death, has lost his fastball. The fact that he tolerated all those years with Jason Garrett without winning and now appears to be doing the same exact thing with Mike McCarthy. You had a chance to get Bill Belichick as your head coach. You had a chance to get Rex Ryan as your defensive coordinator, and you came back with Mike McCarthy and Mike Zimmer. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah, I'm going Cupid.
Oh!
Yeah, listen, going into the fifth year, you talk about him coming back, you talk about the emergence of Dak Prescott in that offense, one of his better years. You had to have consistency. I think he's going to be better next year. Why break up the love?
By the way, this music's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like Willie's going to start unbuttoning his shirt, and I'm scared to death of that happening.
Big
What do you got, Plax? Cupid or Stupid?
Hey, I got to agree with Craig, which doesn't happen that often, so I have to say Stupid. This marriage is over. It's time to move on from it. It's time to move on.
The next set of lovebirds we have right here in the tri-state area.
Yeah.
It is Aaron Rodgers
Cupid.
and Nathaniel Hackett.
Cupid.
You are serious?
Yeah, Cupid.
You think they should stay together?
I love it. I can't get enough of it. Nathaniel Hackett was the worst offensive coordinator in football this past year.
Facts.
And I'm so happy he's coming back because Aaron Rodgers is playing for the New York Jets. And as long as I still have that as a possibility, and I got him on my roster, if he wants Nathaniel Hackett to be his offensive coordinator, then damn it, he should be the offensive coordinator. This is going to be the comeback player of the year and the comeback coordinator of the year. This is going to be...
That's not an award. When he come back from being bad.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me comeback coordinator is not an award?
Never heard of it.
Well, it is this year. Nathaniel Hackett is the comeback coordinator of the year, and Aaron Rodgers will be the comeback player of the year and win his 5th MVP award. Cupid, go ahead.
Yeah, this is stupid.
So are you.
Yeah, whatever. Bottom line is he's an absolute failure. You talk about he actually this offense regressed. Even when they let go of LaFleur, the offense is worse than what it was last year. You talk about you had Cole Hartman. You know what he did? Only win a Super Bowl and score the game-winning touchdown. What happened to Dalvin Cook? What happened? Can find him in the offense.
That's right.
They don't have a backup quarterback. Aaron Rodgers isn't the answer. No, Hackett isn't the answer. It sucks.
Hey, I got to agree with Willie. Aaron Rodgers does not need Nathaniel Hackett to play great and to win comeback player of the year. I can be the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets and be offensive coordinator of the year if Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback. He doesn't need him. Aaron Rodgers is great without Nathaniel Hackett.
All right, I guess I lost that one. 2 stupids to my Cupid.
The next couple we'll be evaluating is Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears.
Stupid.
Cupid or Stupid? Oh,
stupid.
Early with the stupid.
Listen, Justin Fields, I think, is a quarterback on the rise. He's not nearly top 10 yet. He's not even top 20, but you saw some promise once they got DJ Moore, and he had a legitimate target to throw to. And they have done a pretty good job of accumulating some young talent there in Chicago. But look, you've got the #1 pick. You've got what appears to be a can't-miss prospect in Caleb Williams and you have the chance to get a bunch of draft capital, maybe even a player or two in trading Justin, and you also get to reset the clock from when you have to pay your quarterback the big money. It doesn't make sense for them to stick with Justin Fields knowing that you have to make an offseason decision about picking up that fifth-year option and have to give him a lot of money. He is going to get traded. That current relationship is stupid.
Yeah, I'm in bed with you, Craig.
I'm being in bed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going stupid because I wanted to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You talk about Arthur Smith having a running quarterback. You know it's going to be a running offense. Now you got a quarterback who can throw it out the play action and really do great things in that backfield. So I'm going with stupid because I want to be the Steelers quarterback.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to say stupid just because of the fact that I think that Justin Fields just needs a fresh start. I think he's a good player. He can get into that list of the top 10 quarterbacks, but Chicago is just not the place for him.
I remember this. The Pittsburgh Steelers snuck in. They snuck in with really a bad quarterback situation this year. You had Justin Fields again. Not that he's the second coming of a great quarterback, but he's better than what you got. And with Mike Tomlin going into that lame duck year, which he's never done before, I think Pittsburgh is an interesting team with Justin Fields as QB.
Next couple we have is Chris Jones and the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Should this couple stay together, Cupid, or break up, stupid?
I'm going to answer the way you asked. Should they stay together, Cupid? Chris
Will
Jones,
they stay together?
Stupid.
You can't have two answers.
What?
You can't have two answers.
Two questions,
I
two
answered
answers.
the question. They tell me answer the question. He asked me a question. I answered it. All right. Should they stay together? Cupid. Because, look, Chris Jones is going to be a very wealthy man. He already is, no matter where he decides to play. They're going to give him a significant contract, maybe not as much as a team a little bit more desperate to bring in a guy of his caliber will be, who hasn't won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. I don't think he's going to stay there. I think he's going to get an overwhelming offer somewhere else. But to answer your question, should they stay together? Yeah. You're going to be a very wealthy man. You'll be able to do anything you want in life with the finances you have, and you have a legitimate shot of winning a 4th Super Bowl and maybe more. Why would you want to go to a situation where you're not at that same level from a team perspective?
Yeah, if you believe in your talents, you can make your upgrade wherever you land. But I'm going stupid. Bottom line is, you got a chance to get the bag, be one of the highest paid players in the league on the defensive side of the ball. You got the hardware, you got the all-pros. What else do you need? You need the big-time contract. Go get it, big fella.
Hey, I say Cupid because I just believe it just makes more sense for him. You know what? I like winning. I was able to play 12 years in this business and only not make the playoffs, one time. So I want to wake up every morning and walk into the building and have a chance to win. I believe that Chris Jones will get paid, but he won't be the highest paid. Maybe a few $1 million off. But for me, it just makes more sense if you stay.
What team were you on when we didn't make the playoffs?
No. We're not doing that.
What team were you on?
That's stupid.
What team were you on?
We're not doing that.
I remember you played with the Steelers, you played with the Giants.
Oh, we didn't make the playoffs, I think, in 2003.
What team was that, though?
Yeah.
Steelers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. Moving on. LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
Them staying together, this couple.
Yeah.
Cupid or stupid?
Well, I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm saying Cupid because they're never going to win. And that makes me happy. So I hope they stay together. Apparently, they're going to stay together because as a report came out about an hour ago, the Golden State Warriors tried to make a trade for LeBron James in that 24-hour period right before the trade deadline came and went. And LeBron James said he had no interest in leaving L.A., at least now. We'll worry about next year. And Jenny Buss was like, we'll listen, but the dude don't want to leave. So for me, this is Cupid news because I want them to stay together. I don't want LeBron James playing for the New York Knicks.
Why?
And I'm glad that 500 basketball team stays 500. Stay together for another 3 years. Nothing would make me happier.
Yeah, that's stupid. I want him to be a Knick.
No,
what are you
don't.
talking about? I would love LeBron
you're
James
not a
to
Knicks
grace at Madison Square Garden wearing the orange and blue. So, I want him to be a Knick.
Yeah, 10 years ago it would have been good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're meant to be.
Thank you. There you go.
To be a playing team.
Now, it is Valentine's Day, Willie.
Yeah.
And no.
What?
No. What?
Why, look how excited he got.
Yeah.
No, I was going to do it to you. I thought that was kind of your thing on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
A little right cheek spanking, but the way I just saw your face.
Yeah.
put mine down.
I always go
All right,
first, Craig.
We got much more news coming your way. We'll get into that LeBron potential trade from LA to Golden State because that's now out there. Blood in the water. That Golden State made a run at LeBron James, but he said, no, thank you. I'd rather stay with the Lakers, despite being a 500 basketball team, and a little bit more Super Bowl 58 stuff coming your way, including the parade later today. Super Bowl 58, right after this.
Good morning and happy Valentine's Day. Welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines. We have some breaking news regarding that guy, LeBron James. Now, to be clear, this deal never happened, but it was discussed between ownership of the Lakers and ownership of the Warriors. The Warriors called up Jeannie Buss of the Lakers and said, what would it take to get LeBron James traded before the deadline to the Warriors? Really interesting news. Mr. Carton, what is your reaction upon hearing this breaking news this morning?
Two old, desperate franchises trying to stay relevant because neither one of them are right now. But to me, this also emanates from Draymond Green. He's a part of this because we know Draymond and LeBron are good friends off the court. That's been well documented. They're both represented by Clutch Sports, so that's a known fact as well. So if you're Draymond Green and you recognize we have no chance right now, the way we're playing, to win a title. But, man, if we can get LeBron James, maybe we can start competing with the Clippers and the youngsters in Oklahoma City and the young guys, obviously, in Minnesota who are tops right now out west because we can't right now. Let's be honest about what Golden State is and what the Lakers are. They're franchises that are operating, on their resume, not based on their current ability. So it's interesting that the owner of Golden State picked up the phone because why not? Worst thing that happens is you find out, we can't get a deal done. Best thing is maybe you do get a deal done. Now, here's the reality. At no point, based on what I read today, were any other players mentioned or draft picks or any of that stuff. It was, is there a possibility that you would trade LeBron James? And if you were willing to trade him, would you consider trading him to another Western Conference team named us, Golden State? And apparently, as the story now goes, while Jeannie Buss was receptive to the phone call, they went right to Rich Paul and right to LeBron James, and he was shot down immediately. LeBron does not want to be traded right now from the Lakers, or at the time at the trade deadline, to Golden State. And as far as we know, nobody else picked up the phone and asked. So to me, look, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I've seen these guys win enough. I'd like to get one myself. And the fact that you have essentially a 500 basketball team, and LeBron James is committed to it, it just makes me happy.
I mean, it's a changing of the guard. I mean, these guys are getting older, but when you look at OKC, Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers, I mean, the time for LeBron James and the Golden State, that dynasty that they had is coming to an end.
Oh, it's over.
And they recognize it.
Yeah, they know. I can go hit my window if you want me to get the prop.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Golden State has won 5.
Go get the window. And while you go get the window,
I help Craig with the window? We're in his back.
From the window
to the wall.
There you go.
There we go.
So Lakers.
All right. So the Laker window shut. The Golden State Warrior window shut. Okay. The Kevin Durant window shut.
God.
No.
Hell yeah.
No, I'm not going there. I forgot about Phoenix.
The Great Popovich window shut.
New York
That's
Knicks
right.
window?
The New York Knicks window.
Wide open.
Knock the screen out. Knock the screen out.
There you go. Get the screen out.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, God.
There we go.
That's another way to
There we go. That's right. Here's the Knicks window.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Willie. The Knicks window. Wide open for business. Thank you, Willie. Okay. Well, I was angry right there. So, what was your question?
Question was, what is your reaction to this potential trade?
Yeah, I just gave it to you.
Great.
Because here's the thing. We have no idea, because apparently it wasn't discussed at any level where it could have become real, what players Golden State was willing to offer. Steph Curry wasn't being offered. Draymond wasn't being offered. You have no idea about anybody else in that roster. So it's kind of hard to debate the merits of a trade when we've no idea who's going to be involved. It's just interesting that Golden State picked up the phone.
But I just don't understand from a Golden State point of view in the front office of how adding LeBron James to this basketball team makes you better.
Well, three things I want to say. Number one, Willie just casually eating chocolates in the middle of the show. It's so perfect.
But he's sneaking through my window to get the chocolate.
And number two, one thing I want to discuss about this is you guys have spent a lot of time playing in the league, and we've spent a lot of time in the media, and this information gets to us strategically, right? This is the Warriors telling their fan base, we're trying. This is the Warriors saying, I know we're playing well, LeBron, but we're trying. We're trying to bring in superstars. You might not have Clay on the team next year. This is the Warriors communicating to their fan base that we're making phone calls, we're trying to improve, we're not giving up on this nucleus, we're not giving up on winning another championship. Another thing is, LeBron has a $51 million player option next year with the Lakers. So he's got a decision to make. Do I want to? He's not a pay cut guy. He's not taking team friendly deals.
No way.
So he's got a decision to make. Do I stay with this team, which is not going to win a championship this year or next year, or do I forego that and take less money to join a better team?
No. Yeah, I guess look, no one can speak for LeBron James, and he has nothing else to accomplish, obviously, right? As one of the great players to ever play, it comes down to how do you want your career to come to an end? He is playing, which is amazing at 39 years old, all-star caliber basketball. He is. And while, yes, he does take a night off here and there, who cares? He's 39 years old, and he's balling on most nights. So the question is, are you content ending your career with the storied Laker franchise, recognizing that you're not going to win another NBA title? And the reality out west is that there are 3 or 4 teams that are uber young that are just better than you right now.
Right.
And if you look at Oklahoma City, not only are they the second or first best team out west right now, they got like 37 first-round draft picks still coming up. Like, they're going to be good and young for a very long time. Right? So, and then the flip side is, and to be fair about LeBron, when you eventually we'll talk about his legacy, is if you go to your 4th NBA franchise and you win there, it sets you apart for sure from a lot of people to win a title with a 4th franchise. But if you don't, now in a weird way, and I'm going to use a term that I don't mean it in the objectionable manner you guys might find it in, you've allowed your career to be that of a journeyman. If you go to a 4th franchise and don't win, and obviously he's one of the great players, Mount Rushmore, all that. But, there's a lot of value in just wrapping it up in LA with the Lakers. There is.
Yeah, but I think you also have to worry about like AD, right? Like, what does he mean to you at this point? Because AD can't stay on the court.
Well, and that's the problem, right?
Austin Reeves has failed you. We talk about everything that's happened with this Laker team has gone downhill, and it's solely because he's been the orchestrator of all of it. So if you're Jeannie Buss, you now have to make a decision: is it LeBron's team, or do you start now building?
Well, look, you got less than 30 games to go. Obviously, this is the All-Star weekend coming up for the NBA, and after that, it's a dash. Right? And it's hard. You'd be hard-pressed if you start paying more attention now to the NBA. I mean, could they get the 6? I don't think so. I think they're a playing team at best, the Lakers we're talking about. Yeah. So now you're talking about a team that, to be fair, last year they were a playing team, and they advanced to the Western Conference Finals. And obviously, the Denver Nuggets, embarrassed them. They were the best team in basketball, so no surprise. So the NBA has changed in that regard, where what is the huge value in being the number 1 seed anymore? It's debatable. It's debatable.
There isn't.
Right now, to be fair, you also saw the Miami Heat last year, who lost that first playing game, and only because they got a second crack at it did they get in, and they went to the NBA Finals. So there's a lot of ways to get there, but as of right now, the fact I'm more interested really on the Golden State side. This is, I think, what Jacoby's point is a good one. This is Golden State saying, look, we're not just going to throw the ball out there and hope. We're going to try to make a deal that gives us a shot.
I mean, LeBron James, if you want to show me you want to get better if you're the Golden State Warriors, I mean, try adding a Jimmy Butler or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Sabonis or one of those guys, somebody on those playing regards, but add LeBron James.
And let me just say this. While I appreciate Golden State picking up the phone, because like I said, worst case scenario is they get shot down, you get to know. Yeah. I'd rather get to know than not know, right? But here's the reality. Do you think at any point, I know Jeannie Buss has this policy of, I want my guys to be happy and want to be here. If you're not happy here, I'll facilitate a trade. were you really going to trade LeBron James within the conference? Were you really going to do that and possibly face them
in a play-in
game? Now, take Jimmy Butler. If you told me that, Jimmy Butler could be traded from the East to the West and that improved, Golden State, which is arguable, then it makes sense to me. But asking another Western Conference team that you're battling for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place to get in doesn't make any sense at all if that trade made you better and made them worse. And again, we have no idea what Golden State was willing to offer, just that they asked.
The conversation likely didn't even get there. It was probably Jimmy Buss just saying, no. Hope you have a great
Well, it seems like Jimmy Buss said, call LeBron. And when they called LeBron and Clutch Sports, they were told very quickly, not interested.
And the fact that it was even reported is the
Well, I think Jacoby's right on that, too. I think this is Golden State going, hey, Woj, hey, Ramona, I want to give you a story because we want our fan base to know we haven't given up.
Yeah, but they've already
that is
giving up. I mean, the bottom line, Klay Thompson he's already taken a demotion. Draymond is not the same guy. Steph is pretty much the only one holding this team together.
Clay's not the same guy.
I mean, at the end of the day, you had to make a move. So making a move for LeBron just shows that, hey, the light is still on in the building.
You guys know this. It's damn near impossible to have a decade-plus run of winning in the NBA. It's a young man's game.
I just don't see how add LeBron to this team. We've watched Steph Curry and LeBron James compete for world championships in this last decade with watching them going to the finals, 4, 5, 6 times in a row. I just don't see how you add him to the team and they gel and become like this team that's automatically going to compete.
Maybe not. Like I said, you got less than 30 games to go. Would not have been a lot of runway to get on the same page. But they picked up the phone. Right? We don't know if anybody else picked up the phone.
You think Chris Paul was a part of that deal?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a part of every deal.
There was no deal. I'm going to skip ahead and move on to our Patrick Mahomes topic upstairs. I've been comparing Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady Monday, Tuesday, and now it is Wednesday. He actually addressed this. He was asked about what his goals are in his career and asked about whether or not he compares himself to Tom Brady and what it would take. And he had a very interesting answer. Here is Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes.
I want to make sure I maximize my opportunities. And obviously the goal is always 7. It's always to try to get as much as you can. And so all I can do is just try to maximize my opportunities every single day, continue to work to be better, not only for myself but for my team. And we'll see what happens at the end of my career.
It's interesting to hear him say that because you usually hear worried about next year, one at a time. Where this offseason we have to make some moves. But to hear him say, I'm going for 7, is that surprising to you?
No, because, that's the arrogance of winning, right? But why would you want to tie Tom Brady?
That's not the arrogance of winning.
Sure it is.
He knows winning 7 rings or possibly 8 makes him the best of all time.
Yeah, winning 8 makes you the best of all time. Winning 7 puts you in the conversation. But I'll say this again. Tom Brady's got 7.
Winning 7 puts you in the conversation.
Now we can have a conversation, right? When you get to 7, we can at least talk about it. But
you don't want to talk about 4, baby?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because when you talk about, and everyone does it, now it's a LeBron Michael thing, right? Now it's a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes thing. And I'm sitting here as a conscientious observer, I should say. Also and I'm sitting back unconscious, at least for the moment. And I'm, Willie and I have a meeting after the show.
I won't be there.
Yeah, no, you're invited. We're counting you to bring the matches. But here's the reality, though. Why are we talking about Patrick Mahomes equating Tom Brady's Super Bowl ring record, which is 7 Super Bowls, when Terry Bradshaw's got 4? That's 1 more than Mahomes has. Joe Montana has 4.
I'll tell you what.
That's 1 more than Mahomes has. Like, it's all of a sudden, all you NFL historians forgot about the reality that there's 2 other guys that have more than he does.
Forget about him. It came out of his mouth.
Yeah, well, he's forgetting that Terry Bradshaw exists and Joe Montana exists.
He already knows that he's going to get to 4.
How does he know that?
He knows that he's going to get to 4.
You don't just get to say out here.
In this interview, he said he had an hour and a half of sleep and he's been drinking for 2 days.
He looked like it.
Yeah.
So that's the best time to go to Disney.
He's like, Miss Piggy kept me up late.
Yeah. Disney's the worst place on earth to go, especially if your kid's under the age of 7. But that's another story for another day. Okay. Here's the deal. He is, look, it's not taken away from the great accomplishments, but you guys, and everyone wants to talk about, will he ever surpass Brady? Well, no one else is going to have a chance but him for the foreseeable future. We own all that. All that's accurate. All that's good fodder for sports talk, radio, and TV. But you can't talk about Patrick Mahomes one day beating or eclipsing the record that Tom Brady set and completely ignore the fact that there are two other men who have more Super Bowl titles than he does, not named Tom Brady.
Because he is the only one that's close. What other quarterback in this league right now that is playing has the opportunity to get to 3?
Zero.
But like Pac said earlier, it's the pace in which he's getting these Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Right? And you're talking about the team he has, especially with this defense. This defense was the second-ranked defense in the league. So you're talking about had been a quarterback who's one of the best, if not the face of the franchise, with a defense that's emerging with a young secondary. You have to believe that 4, 5, maybe 6 is in the near future.
No, but I don't.
And I think the team's going to get better. I really do.
An important point to make is that Tom Brady took a 10-year gap between his third and fourth Super Bowl. And that in those 10 years is an opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to sort of catch up.
But here,
I'm saying this because I believe the Kansas City Chiefs, they will upgrade.
Here's what you guys are missing. Tom Brady didn't take a decade off.
Right. No,
he still tried to win Super Bowls, but the league got better. The competition got better.
They ran into the Giants.
The Giants were there.
Yeah,
and then the Giants were there again.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, the Baltimore Ravens showed up one year and beat him. And, the Denver Broncos, right? So it's not like Tom Brady stopped being Tom Brady. It's that the rest of the league has a lot of talent also. And for a full decade, the ball didn't bounce right for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Look, he's got the best shot to do it. But wake me up when he's got more Super Bowl wins than Bradshaw and Montana, and then I'll worry about
you said
beating
that.
Tom
Remember
Brady.
he said that. Yeah. Remember he said that.
I plan on being here for a long time, and I plan on having you next to me for a long time. So we'll talk about it for sure.
What are you doing? It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
And stop coming through my window and eating my chocolate. Oh, no. I wish I had my Cupid or stupid sign.